Jimmy Haslam just shut Kevin Stefanski down in front of the entire Browns staff. And it's all about Shedeur Sanders. Leaked reports say Haslam's done watching Stefanski hold back the future. And he's officially revealed the master plan to make Shedeur the face of the franchise. This changes everything in Cleveland.
Theory in it all, man. Let's take a listen to Jimmy Haslam. Then we're going to move on to another story. That is Kevin Stefanski and his future. Let's listen to Jimmy, man.
Yeah, I think we've said consistently that this is a marathon, and it's not easy, and it's complicated due to its size, the public-private partnership. I'd say this is a significant hurdle to get by. We were always confident we'd work it out one way or another. It's a significant hurdle to get by, and we're very excited.
The Cleveland Browns currently have one win on their record, and they got another tough bout going up this week against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Jimmy Haslam is hella mad. He is furious with Kevin Stefanski for not benching Joe Flacco. Now, we know Kevin Stefanski has been saying, we're going to make the time when the time is right to, with the quarterback decision. As of right now, Joe is going to be the guy.
Jimmy Haslam just secured $1 billion stadium deal, and he's grinning ear to ear while his head coach Kevin Stefanski looks like he's about to lose his job. Coincidence? Hell no. Because while everyone's been arguing about why Shedeur Sanders got benched to third string, they missed the real play happening behind closed doors. This wasn't incompetence. This was calculated. And now that the stadium deal is done, everything's about to make sense. Haslam just played chess while the entire NFL was playing checkers, and Stefanski? He might have just been the pawn that got sacrificed.
Going as scheduled. That is us and Shedeur Sanders for the 2025 season, man. Jimmy Haslam looked like he might have secured his bill with the city for this new stadium, and he's doing interviews and he's talking, bro. But more importantly, we're seeing a shift change in the roster. We seen Joe Flacco leave. We seeing Kevin Stefanski looking like a deer in headlights. I believe Jimmy Haslam is about to put his foot down because he needs to pay for that new stadium. See, in this game, going up against the Vikings. Let's head on over to ESPN Cleveland, man, because that's where a lot of this information is coming from. Riz and the gang, even Tony, all of them is speaking about this. Internal affairs. So let's listen.
My insider's saying that there's strife in the building. Tony wrote about it too today. He must have got the same stuff. But apparently, it's Kev v. Andrew and Jimmy, from what I understand. Kev wants to keep Flacco. Andrew and Jimmy want the processor.
Look, I know what you're thinking. Another conspiracy theory from some YouTube channel trying to get clicks, right? But hear me out on this one, because the pieces are fitting together way too perfectly to be just a coincidence.
Now, I say that to say this. Everybody knows Shedeur Sanders can ball out long as he got a line and, everything's looking right. This is what Shedeur does. He fixes things. He's a conduit of change. He's going to come in and make a change. He did it at Jackson State. He did it in Colorado. He's going to do it here in Cleveland. But what better way to maximize the value of Shedeur than to damn near hurt the value of Shedeur, have everybody pissed off, and have it bigger than it ever could be. Your bench.
And when you actually sit down and connect the dots, what Jimmy Haslam pulled off in Cleveland might be the most genius or most ruthless business move we've seen in the NFL in years.
All he does is coach on Sundays.
Now, that is Rizzo pretty much spilling the beans about Kevin and what exactly is going on. Now, this was another take right here about Dylan Gabriel.
Here on the Tony Rizzo Show, exclusively on YouTube. Good morning, everyone. Dylan Gabriel's going to start, according to my sources. Good night, everybody. Chris, it sounds to me like this kid's going to start, and why not? Chris, what the hell? Chris, does it really matter who starts at quarterback with the Browns?
The way this team is operating right now, no.
Chris, let me just state for the record.
Now, I'm not confirming that as
Let's rewind for a second. Remember when Shedeur Sanders got drafted by the Browns? The hype was insane. We're talking about Coach Prime's son, a guy who turned Jackson State into a powerhouse, who brought Colorado back from the dead. This kid had the entire sports world watching his every move. He was box office man, pure entertainment, the kind of player that sells jerseys before he even throws his first NFL pass. And then, what happened? Cleveland benched him. Not just benched him as a backup, they made him third string, behind Joe Flacco and some other guy nobody even remembers. The entire football world lost their minds. Social media went ballistic. Sports analysts were calling it the dumbest decision in franchise history. Even casual fans who don't watch football were talking about it. It was everywhere. But here's where it gets interesting. While everyone was busy being outraged, screaming about how the Browns were wasting generational talent, Jimmy Haslam was in meetings. Quiet meetings. Behind closed doors type meetings with the city of Cleveland about a brand new stadium. A stadium that's going to cost over $1 billion. A stadium that needs public funding, private investment, and most importantly, it needs buzz. It needs excitement. It needs people to care about the Cleveland Browns again. Now ask yourself this. How do you get people to care about a franchise that's been irrelevant for years? How do you generate the kind of fanfare and traction that justifies asking taxpayers to help fund $1 billion stadium? You don't do it with the same old boring Browns football that's been losing for decades. You need star power. You need drama. You need a story that people can't stop talking about. Enter Shedeur Sanders, the biggest name in football, the most marketable young quarterback in the league. But here's the thing. Shedeur being good wasn't enough. Lots of quarterbacks are good. Lots of rookies come in and play well, and nobody really cares outside of their fan base. No, Haslam needed something bigger. He needed something that would make Shedeur Sanders the most talked-about player in football. He needed controversy. He needed outrage. He needed every sports show, every podcast, every social media platform screaming about the Browns. So what did he do? He benched him, made him third string, created the biggest storyline in football. And guess what happened? Exactly what he needed. The entire world started watching Cleveland. Every single week, people tuned in to Browns games, not because they cared about the Browns, but because they wanted to see if Shedeur would finally get his shot. Sports networks couldn't stop talking about it. Social media was on fire. The Browns went from irrelevant to the most discussed team in football overnight. And while all of this was happening, while everyone was focused on the drama, Jimmy Haslam was working his magic behind the scenes. He was in those meetings with city officials, showing them the numbers, showing them the engagement, showing them that yes, people do care about the Browns now. Look at the ratings. Look at the social media metrics. Look at how many people are talking about Cleveland football for the first time in years. Think about it from a business perspective. The Browns alone, let's be real, they don't have the fanfare to justify $1 billion stadium. They just don't. Cleveland's a great sports city, but the Browns have been disappointing fans for so long that asking for public money to build them a palace? That's a tough sell. But Shedeur Sanders? That's a different story. That's not just Cleveland fans. That's national attention. That's primetime games. That's jersey sales. That's butts in seats from people who want to see what happens next in this storyline. And here's the beautiful part of the plan. By benching Shedeur, Haslam didn't just create drama. He created sympathy. He made Shedeur the underdog, the disrespected rookie, the kid who should be playing but isn't because of some incompetent coaching staff. And you know what America loves more than anything? An underdog story, a redemption arc. The moment when the kid who was held back finally gets his chance and proves everyone wrong. Now let's talk about Kevin Stefanski. Poor Kevin Stefanski. Because if this theory is right, and man, it's looking more right every day, then Stefanski was the fall guy in all of this. He's the one who had to make the unpopular decisions. He's the one who had to answer the questions. He's the one who looked incompetent on national television while his owner was securing a stadium deal. And you can see it in his face, can't you? The media reports are calling him a deer in headlights. When he's asked about the quarterback situation, he looks uncomfortable. When the Joe Flacco trade went down, oh man, let's talk about that for a second because that's another piece of this puzzle. Mike freaking Tomlin, one of the most respected coaches in the NFL, came out and basically said the Browns made a stupid decision trading Joe Flacco to a division rival. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that Andrew Berry must be smarter than him because he can't understand why you'd trade a quarterback you trusted enough to be your opening day starter to a team in your own division that needs help at that position. That's not just criticism. That's Tomlin calling out the Browns front office on national television. And you know what's interesting? Kevin Stefanski didn't defend Andrew Berry, the general manager, his supposed partner in building this team. When given the opportunity to back up his GM, Stefanski stayed quiet. That tells you everything you need to know about the relationship there. There's a fracture, a big one, and it's becoming more obvious by the day. Pat McAfee broke this down on his show, and he nailed it. He said this is Mike Tomlin's way of defending Kevin Stefanski without directly saying it. Think about it. If you're Stefanski, you chose Joe Flacco as your starter. You trusted him. You built your game plan around him. And then, a couple weeks later, your GM trades him away to a division rival without really consulting you. How would you feel? You'd feel like your job just got 10 times harder. You'd feel undermined. You'd feel like you're being set up to fail. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Because here's the thing about this whole master plan. It needs a villain. It needs someone to blame for why Shedeur wasn't playing. And Kevin Stefanski? He's the perfect villain. The conservative coach who didn't trust the young gun. The guy who kept throwing 4-yard passes with Dylan Gabriel instead of unleashing the offense. The guy who made the Browns boring to watch. But now, the stadium deal is done. Haslam got what he needed. He shook hands with the mayor. He got through the significant hurdle, as he called it. And now? Now it's time for the payoff. Time for Shedeur to get his shot. Time for the redemption story to begin. Time for Cleveland to rally around their young star and forget about all the dysfunction that got them to this point. You see where this is going, right? Haslam orchestrated the entire thing. He created the drama to generate buzz for the stadium deal. He made Shedeur the most talked-about player in football by not playing him. He set up Stefanski to be the fall guy. And now that he's got his stadium approved, he can let Shedeur play, fire Stefanski if needed, and ride the wave of excitement into that brand-new billion-dollar palace. It's genius, honestly. Ruthless, manipulative, calculated, but genius. Because think about what would have happened if they just drafted Shedeur and let him play from day one. Maybe he plays well. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe people pay attention. Maybe they don't. But by creating all this drama, by making it the biggest story in football, Haslam guaranteed that everyone would be watching. He guaranteed that Cleveland would be relevant. He guaranteed that when he went to those city meetings about the stadium, he had something to show them. Proof that people care about the Browns again. And let's be real about Shedeur for a second. This kid can ball. We've seen what he can do when he's got the right situation. He took Jackson State to new heights. He brought Colorado back from being a laughingstock to being primetime television every single week. He's a winner. He's a leader. He's everything you want in a franchise quarterback. As long as he's got a decent offensive line and weapons around him, Shedeur's going to succeed. That's just what he does. He's a conduit of change, like they said in the source. He fixes broken situations. So, yeah, Cleveland screwed him over by benching him. Yeah, they disrespected him by making him third string. But you know what? When he finally gets his chance, and that chance is coming real soon, he's going to prove why he was worth all this drama. He's going to show why Jimmy Haslam was willing to sacrifice his coach's reputation. willing to endure months of criticism, willing to risk looking incompetent, all to set up this moment. Because here's what's about to happen. Shedeur's going to start playing. The Browns are going to start winning. The fan base is going to go crazy. Jersey sales are going to skyrocket. That new stadium is going to fill up with people who want to see the kid who overcame adversity and proved all the doubters wrong. And Jimmy Haslam? He's going to sit in his owner's box, watching that packed stadium, knowing that he'd pulled off one of the greatest long cons in NFL history. Now, I know some of you are thinking this sounds too calculated, too conspiracy theory, too far-fetched. And maybe I'm connecting dots that aren't really there. Maybe it was just genuine dysfunction and bad decision-making. Maybe there's no master plan. Maybe Haslam's just a bad owner who got lucky with the timing of the stadium deal. But come on, you've seen how the NFL works. You've seen how owners think. These are billionaires who didn't get rich by accident. They're strategic. They're ruthless. They understand that in the modern NFL, it's not just about wins and losses. It's about entertainment value. It's about brand recognition. It's about creating storylines that keep people engaged. And whether you love Shedeur or hate him, whether you think he's overrated or underrated, you can't deny that he's the most captivating young player in football right now. People have opinions about him. Strong opinions. And that's exactly what you want if you're trying to sell a billion-dollar stadium to a city that's been burned by bad football for decades. So, here we are. The stadium deal is done. Haslam's smiling in press conferences. Stefanski's looking over his shoulder, wondering if he's got a job next season. And Shedeur? He's waiting, preparing, getting ready for his moment. Because when it comes, and trust me, it's coming, this whole city, this whole league, is going to erupt. The question is, what happens next? Does Stefanski survive this? Does the relationship with Andrew Barry completely fall apart? Does Shedeur live up to the hype and justify all of this drama? And most importantly, was this really all part of Jimmy Haslam's plan from the beginning? Because if it was, then we just witnessed one of the most elaborate chess moves in NFL history. And Cleveland Browns football is about to get a whole lot more interesting. You already know the setup. If you didn't, go watch it right now, because this won't make sense without it. But here's the quick version. Jimmy Haslam might have benched Shedeur Sanders on purpose to create drama, generate buzz, and secure a billion-dollar stadium deal with the city of Cleveland. Now that the deal's done, it's time for Phase 2. And Phase 2 is where things get messy. Let's start with Kevin Stefanski. Because, man, this dude is in trouble. And honestly, I almost feel bad for him. Almost. Because if you look at the situation objectively, Stefanski might be the biggest victim in all of this. He's the head coach who had to make decisions that made him look incompetent. He's the guy who had to answer questions about why the most exciting quarterback in football was sitting on the bench. He's the one who took all the heat while Jimmy Haslam was out here playing 4D chess. And now the cracks are showing. Big time. You saw it in the source. When Kevin Stefanski had the opportunity to defend Andrew Barry after the Joe Flacco trade, he didn't. He stayed quiet. And in the NFL, silence speaks volumes. When your head coach won't back up your general manager publicly, that tells you everything you need to know about their relationship. There's no trust there anymore. There's no partnership. There's just two guys trying to survive in an organization that's setting them both up to fail. Pat McAfee broke this down perfectly, and you could hear it in his voice. He gets it. He said, if you're Kevin Stefanski, and you chose Joe Flacco as your opening day starter, you built your game plan around him. You trusted him to run your conservative offense. And then your GM trades him to a division rival a couple weeks later? That's not just a business decision. That's a message. That's the front office telling you, we don't care what you think. We're running this show. And Mike Tomlin, legendary coach Mike Tomlin, he saw it too. He came out and said, it was shocking that Andrew Barry would trade a quarterback to a team in your own division that's struggling at that position. He basically called the move stupid on national television. Now, Tomlin's not known for calling out other organizations like that. He's usually diplomatic, professional, respectful. But even he couldn't stay quiet on this one because it was that bad of a decision. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is what a lot of people are missing. Mike Tomlin wasn't just criticizing Andrew Barry. He was defending Kevin Stefanski without saying it directly. Think about it. By calling out the GM for making a dumb decision, Tomlin's essentially saying, hey, this wasn't the coach's fault. This was front office dysfunction. He's giving Stefanski an out. He's giving him cover. Because Tomlin knows, every coach in the league knows, that when your GM undercuts you like that, your job becomes impossible. And that's exactly what's happening in Cleveland right now. Kevin Stefanski's job has become impossible. He's got an owner who might be using him as a pawn in a stadium negotiation scheme. He's got a GM who's making moves without consulting him. He's got a quarterback situation that's been a media circus for months. And now, with Joe Flacco gone, he's got no safety net. No veteran to fall back on if things go wrong. It's Shedeur's time, ready or not. Now let's talk about the real story here. Shedeur Sanders. Because while all this front office drama is playing out, Shedeur's just been sitting there, watching, waiting, preparing. And if you know anything about this kid, you know he thrives on disrespect. You know he plays with a chip on his shoulder. You know that being benched to third string didn't break him. It fueled him. Look at his track record. When he got to Jackson State, nobody took them seriously. It was an HBCU program that hadn't been relevant in years. And what did Shedeur do? He turned them into must-watch TV. He brought attention, he brought wins, he brought legitimacy to a program that needed it. Then he went to Colorado, which was coming off one of the worst seasons in college football history. And again, what did he do? He made Colorado primetime. He made them relevant. He made them exciting. This kid fixes things. That's what he does. He walks into broken situations and makes them better. Not because he's got the biggest arm or the fastest legs, but because he's got something you can't teach. He's got that IT factor. He knows how to handle pressure. He knows how to perform when the lights are brightest. He knows how to make the people around him better. And now he's about to do it again in Cleveland. Because here's the thing. Cleveland needs Shedeur to succeed. Not just for football reasons, but for business reasons. That billion-dollar stadium Jimmy Haslam just got approved. It needs to be filled. It needs to generate revenue. It needs to justify the investment. And you don't do that with boring, conservative, 3 yards and a cloud of dust football. You do that with star power. You do that with excitement. You do that with Shedeur Sanders. So, yeah, they disrespected him by benching him. Yeah, they put him through months of frustration and doubt. But you know what? That might have been the best thing that could have happened to him. Because now when he steps on that field, it's not just another game. It's personal. It's his chance to prove everyone wrong. It's his chance to show the world what we already knew. That he's special. And here's where I'm going to take Shedeur's side. Because my audience, you guys, you already know what's up. You've been watching this kid since Jackson State. You've seen what he can do when given a real opportunity. You've seen him elevate programs, elevate teammates, elevate entire organizations. And you know that Cleveland just hit the lottery with this kid, even if they don't realize it yet. Was the benching stupid? Absolutely. Was it disrespectful? For sure. But was it part of some master plan by Jimmy Haslam? Maybe. And if it was, then Shedeur's about to be the biggest beneficiary of it all. Because when you create this much drama, this much attention, this much hype around a player, and then you finally unleash him, the payoff is massive. The spotlight is blinding. And for a player like Shedeur who thrives in big moments, that's exactly where he wants to be. That's exactly where he wants to be. Think about the narrative that's about to unfold. The disrespected rookie who was buried on the depth chart finally gets his shot and leads Cleveland to relevance. That's a movie script. That's the kind of story that sells tickets, sells jerseys, fills stadiums. And Jimmy Haslam knows it. Kevin Stefanski knows it. Andrew Barry knows it. Hell, the entire NFL knows it. So what happens next? Here's my prediction. Shedeur starts playing, and he balls out. Not because the Browns suddenly fixed their offensive line or got better weapons, but because he's just that good. He makes plays happen. He extends drives. He brings energy. And slowly but surely, Cleveland starts winning games they shouldn't win. The fan base starts believing again. The media starts paying attention for the right reasons instead of the drama. And Kevin Stefanski? He either figures out how to work with Shedeur and saves his job, or he becomes the sacrificial lamb that Jimmy Haslam can blame for all the early season dysfunction. Either way, his fate is tied to Shedeur's success now. There's no more Joe Flacco to fall back on. There's no more excuses. It's Shedeur's team, and whatever happens next is on both of them. As for Andrew Barry, the GM who's been getting torched by everyone from Mike Tomlin to Cleveland media, he's probably got one more year to prove this roster can compete. Because if Shedeur succeeds despite the talent around him, Barry looks bad for not giving him better pieces. And if Shedeur struggles, Barry looks bad for not surrounding him with enough help. It's a lose-lose situation unless they start making smart moves in free agency and the draft. But here's the bottom line, and this is what you need to understand. Shedeur Sanders is about to have the entire city of Cleveland and the entire NFL world watching his every move. And for a competitor like him, that's not pressure. That's fuel. That's motivation. That's exactly where he wants to be. The conspiracy, the drama, the benching, the stadium deal, all of it led to this moment. And whether Jimmy Haslam planned it all along or just got lucky with the timing, the result is the same. Cleveland Browns football is must-watch TV again. And it's all because of Shedeur Sanders. So here's what I want to know from you. When Shedeur finally takes over as the full-time starter, how many games do you think it takes before the Browns start winning? Are we talking immediate impact? Or does he need time to adjust? And more importantly, do you think Kevin Stefanski makes it through the season? Or is he gone the moment they hit a rough patch? Drop your predictions in the comments right now, because I'm reading every single one. And real talk. Was I right about this whole conspiracy? Or did I just connect dots that weren't there? Let me know if you think Jimmy Haslam really orchestrated this whole thing, or if I'm just giving him too much credit. Because honestly, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. Look, at the end of the day, we're about to witness something special in Cleveland. Whether it's the redemption story of Shedeur Sanders proving he belongs, the downfall of Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Barry, or the vindication of Jimmy Haslam's master plan, this is must-watch television. This is why we love football. Not just for the games, but for the drama, the storylines, the human element of it all. If you made it this far, you're real ones. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're covering every step of this Shedeur Sanders journey. Every game, every controversy, every moment that proves he's the franchise quarterback Cleveland's been desperately searching for. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Drop a like if you're Team Shedeur, drop a comment with your predictions, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep your eyes on Cleveland, because this story is just getting started.